Evening, guys. It's Gavin Seim here. Give me a shout out if you see me in there. Should have a decent connection here, just down here in the studio. And I wanted to do a quick update. I wanted to kind of give a summary of what's happening because I feel like we're getting a little bit disconnected with Oregon and Nevada. You know, they've intentionally put these trials together, conflicting with each other, trying to keep people on the run, you know, moving Ammon from one place to another while he's trying to prepare for his own trial coming up. And so let's do a quick update on some of the concerns and some of what's happening in the Oregon trial, and also with the trials down in Las Vegas there with the Bundy Ranch trials. And I was just looking at the video. I threw up the video here from Ammon's story, which you can watch on the YouTube channel. If you see stuff in there you want to see, that's the whole Bundy story video that's in its complete form on YouTube, over on my YouTube channel. Okay, so Oregon, I'm going to ask the very clear question that I think other people are asking too, and let's just not dance around it. Are the public defenders, are the attorneys for the defense in Oregon throwing the case? I don't know if you guys have been watching what's going on, but they're basically not, from what I'm hearing and what's coming out of the courtroom, they're really making no defense, right? And so, number one, the reason that the first trial was won in Oregon is because God intervened. Okay? That's my belief. You can put it however you want, but let me just tell you this. You don't win when you go to a jury trial. I've been in a jury trial. My dad's been in a jury trial for bogus charges. I have friends that have been to jury trials, even in the local court, but especially in the federal court. You don't win in a jury trial. You're there to be convicted. Your conviction is basically decided before you ever show up in court, and they simply select a jury that will affirm that, okay? So the acquittal a few months ago in Oregon of Ammon, Bundy, and the rest was amazing, but it was a miracle because that's not the way it was supposed to happen. And it's important we understand that. But that said, the attorneys for Ammon and Ryan defending himself, people had a lot more tenacity and boldness. Marcus Mumford defending Ammon down there, he was a bulldog, guys. He was a bulldog, and he makes all the other attorneys uncomfortable, right? I don't think he's very popular with the other attorneys because what do we have? We have this illegal system where you have to be a member of the special club, the bar association, to represent someone, which is absurd under the Constitution, right? But because of it, these attorneys, they've got a restraint tied around their neck all the time. But then you get to public defenders and it's even worse because their paycheck is literally coming from the same bank that the prosecutor's paycheck has come from. So most attorneys are playing along with the system in one way or another just so they can keep their certification because we've become so corrupt. And then you see attorneys like Mumford who are still very tenacious. They know how it works. They know how to play it and keep the message going and keep the message on track and present the case. So Mumford did this phenomenal job for Ammon. But the reason, remember when the trial was going on in Oregon, the reason we were all excited is because he would be going circles around the prosecution, guys. He brought out the issue. He made the motion to have the bad juror the biased juror removed, which was used. God inserted that, I would say, to turn the tide of the whole case. The state had no anticipation of losing, guys. That's why they attacked Marcus Mumford after the acquittal. They were in shock. They didn't know what to do. They didn't have a plan B because they fully expected to win. Okay? Now, Mumford would object all the time in the trials, right? We got people like Joe Robertson, there he is right there. We got the Bundys, we got all these people in jail, and we get these attorneys, these public defenders that play along with the system. Hey, there's me. So, what do we do? What do we do? What's happening in Oregon? Hey, Jason, you got all this stuff going on, all this craziness happening, and you've got the public defenders barely even objecting to what's going on, guys. I mean, the questions that went down in Oregon this week, there was questions being raised to try and demonize the defense. And the defense attorneys were not even objecting. Marcus Mumford would have been all over the stuff that was coming up in this courtroom. And Angela made a good comment here. You're right. In general, when you're talking about a lot of this stuff, an objection on the record is very important for appeal. And so when an attorney is failing to object over something that's bogus, that's not relevant to the case, what he's actually doing is quite literally throwing away an opportunity for an appeal. Because what happens, in essence, is if your attorney or yourself is representing, like Ryan did, right? If you object, it puts that on the record, and if the judge overrules your objection and allows the course of conversation or questioning to continue, now the judge is on the hook officially. Now, we know that in practice, the courts are completely corrupted, including most of the appeals, which is why we have our appeal to heaven and our bold stand, and that's what people like Ammon Bundy did. The message isn't play the game of the feds and the courts. It was never Ammon's message. It was never LaVoy's message. The message is stand. Be bold, be principled, be peacemakers, and that's what we got to get back to. But I think we have a very real question. It seems to me that the defenders in the Oregon case for the last 4 in Oregon are throwing the case. What do you think? Now, are they doing it intentionally for a bonus, or are they doing it just because they live in fear and they get the paycheck from the government, so they're going to play the game? Public defenders are notorious for not really defending their clients, okay? So we don't need to go into that too much. Are the defenders in Oregon throwing the case? It's a very real question, and it looks to me like they're not adequately defending those people at all. And so I know for my part, I'm going to be appealing to God just like before, because he overrides these wicked courts. He overrides these wicked courts and these wicked, tyrannical, treasonous judges. Okay? And we need to really be appealing on that front. Don't expect to win on the attorney front. We never win on the attorney front at this point. The courts are that corrupt. But that doesn't mean God can't use men like Marcus Mumford to speak the truth boldly and be a tenacious bulldog, right? Your attorney, let me be very clear on this. If you have an attorney defending you in court, he should be an activist in that courtroom for you. The whole point of having representation, I'm not talking about bar associations or any of that. I'm talking about what a representative is supposed to do for you. He's supposed to boldly defend you, tenaciously defend you, so you're not sitting there defending yourself against the false accusations. And it may be very right. They may have been ordered to throw it. They may be getting a bonus. But I think it should be assumed at this point that the defense is not defending, and I hope they change that before the end. But really, we're going to be going to the wrap up. We're going to be going to jury in Oregon soon. It's really a done deal, and we have our appeal to heaven. And so be praying for these men down there. Let's talk about Oregon real quick. Nevada real quick before we wrap up, because trial was going on there. We're not seeing quite as many live streams and things like that coming out. And the message, we need to try and condense that message from what's coming out of Nevada for our Nevada prisoners, for the first 6 that are on trial, and then there's 2 more trials coming down there for the Bundys and Pete Santilli and all these other guys, Clive and Ryan, Jerry DeLoomis, political prisoners everywhere, guys. Now, one more thing. I'll come back to it. Let's continue with Nevada. It sounds like it's going a little better in Nevada. I'm not hearing any of the attorneys doing amazing things out of there in terms of really turning things up, tearing things up like in Ammon's trial. But we are seeing issues raised. We're seeing objections down there. It sounds like Todd Engel, who's representing himself, is actually kind of the bulldog down there. He's raising issues. He's objecting. He's explaining narratives. You know, there was a line of questioning in an article I was reading, and Todd Engel sounds like he's laying down the narrative, right? He's laying down the timeline of what happened at the Bundy Ranch, and you know, he's saying that he was imploring Nevada Highway Patrol to help get the government agents to lower their weapons, right? Because they're being accused of pointing weapons at these government agents. Well, the government agents were the ones that were pointing weapons, guys. They were the ones that initiated everything at the Bundy Ranch. The feds are out of control. But, of course, the judge in Nevada is on the take. Okay, the judge in Nevada is working for the very same people that want all that land controlled by the government, that want to pull the uranium, that want to control the land and the resources, because as Ammon taught us, everything comes out of the ground. But it sounds like Todd Engel's really doing a phenomenal job. They're trying to railroad those guys out there, and so we really need to keep them in our prayers and keep that message going. And I'm encouraging everybody down in Nevada, just keep it simple. Get on your live streams and say, this happened in court, this happened in court. Be bold. Call out the corruption. Let's not be afraid of it. We will not win by playing their games or pretending that these judges are in any way lawful or that these feds are in any way the good guy. In fact, that raises another point. I was looking at this article back here, and Iva Henderson this week was in court in Oregon, okay? And she was called in as a witness, and they ended up not having her go on the stand. So she gave up time from work and all this stuff. She's a mother of 4. She has 13 grandchildren, I believe. Well, get this. She didn't stand in the court, right? Why should we give honor to the dishonorable? All rise for the honorable judge. Judge Anna Brown is not an honorable person. She's a traitor against our Constitution. She's in a state of war against the people. And so Iva didn't stand, and she was in the courtroom because they called her down to testify and then not had her testify, and she was watching before she went home, and she didn't stand. And the marshal asked her to stand, and she just stayed sitting, and they didn't make a huge issue of it in the courtroom. Well, later, these good feds, right, these good cops that were some people, some of our loyalists out there are palling around with these guys pretending they're the good guys. They actually fined her. They gave her a fine for not standing in this courtroom, okay? Because if you don't give false honor to the dishonorable, they will punish us. These are not good men. These are not good cops. These are not good officers. And the officers who stand with them and don't oppose them aren't either. We have to stop pretending that the enemies of liberty are its friends, that the ones persecuting good, principled, neighbor-loving people are honorable. There's nothing honorable about them. These are the same people. This is the same blue line that killed LaVoy. The same people. These are the ones who gunned down LaVoy in cold blood, you guys. These are the ones holding our prisoners in cages, guarding the courtroom to make sure that the judges can continue to commit treason. And they're down there on the ground every day, fishing for information from people, trying to acting like they're their buddies, and people are falling for it. We talked about this when I was in Vegas, and it raised a lot of stir because people didn't like it. The informants didn't like it, that I was calling it out and saying, hey, we need to recognize the enemy here. Okay. Our courts are treason. The blue line is treason. These are the men and their families that they've taken away from their families and their children and turned their lives upside down, and they've been in jail for a year. I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with families being torn apart. I'm not okay with children being without their fathers. I'm not okay with defenders who throw your case in court and throw you under the bus and decline to defend you. I'm not okay with judges who don't allow the Constitution to be spoken of in their courtroom. I'm not okay with grandmas being harassed by federal cops and written fines because they won't stand for a treasonous and dishonorable judge. We need to stop complying. The message is not write letters to presidents and congressmen. The message is principled resistance, defiance, standing up to the officers on the street, calling them out for their corruption and their shame and their dishonor and their violation of the Constitution. And so the Oregon trials are likely to be finishing up soon here with those final 4 in Oregon. Our appeal is to heaven. Stay engaged with what's going on. The Nevada trials, we're going to see those going on, and we're going to see more trials for months and months, for all these men that are still locked away that should have been released a year ago, for these men that are still away from their families because Donald Trump will do nothing to set them free, because Jeff Sessions will not honor his oath and drop the cases, because the prosecutors continue prosecuting, but even more so because the officers, the only reason the judges and the courts and the prosecutors and these traitors have any real power, guys, is because the blue line, the officers, are just doing their job for a paycheck and a pension. So here's an update with the truth on what happened. Get the word out. Like this post. It'll help get it out there. Share it. Don't be afraid to speak the truth. We're not of the spirit of fear, but of love and of a sound mind. Don't be afraid to stand up to them. Don't be afraid of what they can do to us. When we come together, when we unite, we have power. Our words have power. Our compromise does not. Compromise and cowering before them, that's exactly what they want. And that's exactly why we have to be principled in our defiance. You guys have a good weekend. Get the word out and set the prisoners free. Video that's in its complete form on YouTube, over on my YouTube channel. Okay, so Oregon, I'm going to ask the very clear question that I think other people are asking too, and let's just not dance around it. Are the public defenders, are the attorneys for the defense in Oregon throwing the case? I don't know if you guys have been watching what's going on, but they're basically not, from what I'm hearing and what's coming out of the courtroom, they're really making no defense, right? And so, number one, the reason that the first trial was won in Oregon is because God intervened. Okay? That's my belief. You can put it however you want, but let me just tell you this. You don't win when you go to a jury trial. I've been in a jury trial. My dad's been in a jury trial for bogus charges. I have friends that have been to jury trials, even in the local court. Evening, guys. It's Gavin Seim here. Give me a shout out if you see me in there. Should have a decent connection here, just down here in the studio. And I wanted to do a quick update. I wanted to kind of give a summary of what's happening because I feel like we're getting a little bit disconnected with Oregon and Nevada. You know, they've intentionally put these trials together, conflicting with each other, trying to keep people on the run, you know, moving court, but especially in the federal court. You don't win in a jury trial. You're there to be convicted. Your conviction is basically decided before you ever show up in court, and they simply select a jury that will affirm that, okay? So the acquittal a few months ago in Oregon of Ammon, Bundy, and the rest was amazing, but it was a miracle because that's not the way it was supposed to happen. And it's important we understand that. Ammon from one place to another while he's trying to prepare for his own trial coming up. And so let's do a quick update on some of the concerns and some of what's happening in the Oregon trial and also with the trials down in Las Vegas there with the Bundy Ranch trials. And I was just looking at the video. I threw up the video here from Ammon's story, which you can watch on the YouTube channel. If you see stuff in there you want to see, that's the whole Bundy story.